Hello comic book fans. I could have sworn that I've bought less books in 2015 than in 2014, but as I pulled out all the books from 2015 from my shelves to do some final assessment, I was quite surprised. The numbers of books I've bought surely hasn't decreased. In fact, very likely the opposite is the case. Anyhow, a year ago I did 5 videos with the best of 2014 trades, but 2015 there are enough books to divide my resume into 6 parts. So there will not be just a top 10 of the best horror books, which I'll do in a second, but a top 10 with 2015's most whacked out comics, and a top 10 with crime books, and one with superheroes, and one with science fiction, and last but not least a top 10 with comics about love and life, which contains some of the absolute best comics, in my opinion, from 2015, so don't forget to watch that one. So, without further ado, here are, in my humble opinion, the best trades / collected editions / omnibi / non-floppies with horror comics that came out in 2015. Coming in on 10 is the Shaolin Cowboy by Geoff Darrow, a literal slaughterfest of a book. A monk with 2 chainsaws at both ends of a long stick kills the dead. That's it. I know, it's easy to feel under-challenged by such a story, but you can read it maybe as a parody for all the gore operas out there. Or you simply can enjoy the morbid beauty of Darrow's art. Sure enough, this book could have easily made it in my next top 10 with the most whacked out books from 2015. But since it's such unambiguously devoted to the horror and gore genre, I guess it just belongs into the horror top 10. 9 is reserved for James Stokoe's take on the Godzilla franchise, Godzilla: The Half-Century War, a colorful, wonderful book made by a true fan, published by Oni, a real treat. You may watch Panellogy 75, where I rave and praise extensively about this one. Rank 8 is 5 Ghosts, drawn by Chris Mooneyham, written by Frank J. Barbieri, and colored by Lauren Effie. A fantastic mystery adventure comic with samurais, pirates, and monsters about this guy that could channel the special abilities of some special people, who according to Wikipedia may refer to the magician Merlin, Robin Hood, Sherlock Holmes, Miyamoto Musashi, and Count Dracula. The whole book is a giant love letter to the pulp age, while showing that the age of glorious pulp is actually now. Number 7 is, and I still don't know whether I like or don't like this cover picture, it's the definitive collection of Alex Toth's comics from Creepy and Eerie, done by Dark Horse as an almost quadratic shaped hardcover. Although Toth's work for Creepy and Eerie surely isn't the most important centerpiece of his career, this is still a beautiful collection of comics covering 18 years of Toth's career. The oldest comics are from 1965, the newest story is from 1982. So you got not just a lot of Toth in here, but a lot of the different art styles and techniques he used over these years. Coming in on 6, it's The Walking Dead Omnibus number 6, containing the issues 121 up to 144 in oversized format. Format-wise, this book is a bit of a guilty pleasure of mine, because Charlie Adlard's art doesn't really need necessarily this oversized format. plus the slick art print paper isn't the best choice for a black and white comic in my opinion, not to speak of the glued binding, which bugs me a little bit. But hey, overall it's The Walking Dead, and it's still a beautiful book with dust jacket and a nice slipcase. And the storylines in these 24 chapters are fantastic, expanding the Deadverse in a very interesting way and ending on a pretty intense cliffhanger. There's a line in it: I believe in Rick Grimes. I would say I believe in The Walking Dead. Unfortunately, just in the comic, because the TV series doesn't seem to be able to keep up with the quality of the comic anymore. I mean, the TV series wasn't as good as the comic right from the start, but it was at least sometimes more or less close behind. In contrast, the last 3 recent episodes I've watched were really disappointing, especially when you know the rich and multifaceted original story. On rank 5, it's German-born French writer and artist Andreas with the 2-part collection of all his rock comics, published in German and in Germany by Schreiber and Leser. There's a French version from Les Éditions du Lombard from 2 or 3 years ago, and it seems that there is even a recent Polish translation, but unfortunately I haven't seen an English version. But if you're able to read French, German or Polish, this book is highly recommended. Andreas tells hauntingly mysterious stories that play in the Edgar Allan Poe or maybe Lovecraftian region of dark fantasy. And he does this in a very sophisticated, Bernie Wrightson-influenced style, which is a pleasure in itself. For more Andreas in your life, or some guide for more Andreas in your life, watch Panellogy 27 about some other comics from Andreas in my collection. Number 4 in my horror top 10 comic list is The Sixth Gun. Volume 2 and 3 both came out this year, and both are very impressive books with an even more impressive comic. As to the books, I absolutely dig the thick matty paper on the big size, which makes the art really shine, and I don't dig the binding. It's maybe soon, but the inner spine doesn't detach from the outer spine, so it opens not as flat as it should. Like, unfortunately, so many trades that are put out today. You may want to check out my rant video number 85, Panellogy number 85 as it is, about binding issues about this annoying topic. But in this case, it just keeps an almost perfect trade from being totally perfect. Story-wise, Colin Bunn continues his fantastic western horror doom saga. Maybe he tries to be a bit too Morrison-ish at some parts, with multiple dimensions interacting with each other. But maybe I just have to reread to appreciate these efforts a bit more. The art of Brian Hurt and the coloring from Bill Crabtree continues to be top-notch, walking the narrow high path between realistic and cartoony, which translates just into pure fun comic reading. My upcoming ranks 3 to 1 are pretty interchangeable, to be honest. All 3 of them would deserve to wear an Earl Grey Golden Teabag trophy for the most excellent horror comic collection of 2015. But since I want to make a ranking, number 3 goes to one of my greatest discoveries this year, even though there was not much to be discovered because this comic series has been a long time out in the open and nearly everybody has raved about it. but for whatever reason, silly me didn't believe the hype. Oh man, how I was wrong, because Rachel Rising is a fantastic, intelligent, well-drawn story with so many madcap ideas that the old, almost generic by nature genre horror looks like it was invented just yesterday. Yes, just yesterday. Oh man, English. Anyhow. Great series. Trade number 6, entitled Rachel Rising is a great series. Trade number 6, entitled Secrets Kept, came out recently. If you have been stubborn like me until recently and haven't read it yet, I chime in with all those Rachel believers and strongly urge you to grab it and read it. After that, you will see many things and people in a different manner. Little girls, for an example. The silver medal in horror achievement goes to the most recent book from the old master of comics, Richard Corbin, Red God. This hardcover, with easily one of the best covers of the year, contains a 5-issue miniseries. Although it is a typical Corbin, which would be reason alone for high praise, it is a tiny bit something more. Corbin is one of the artists who is not repeating forever what has done the job once, but he's constantly improving his writing skills, his art, his panel layout. It's close to perfection now. Actually, I think there's no reason to say that it's not perfect, but I'm convinced Corbin's next offering will even top this, so maybe we could say this is the perfect horror comic until Corbin will show us the new level of perfect. But what can come beyond perfection? Which collection can proudly wear the imaginary Golden Teabag of Horror 2015 award? You just have add the momentum of a big universe like the Mignola-verse to the perfection. b.p.r.d. 1946 to 1948. A thick hardcover, same size like the Plague of Frogs collections. The 4th book from Dark Horse in the top 10, which makes them the horror publisher of the year. This tome here tells us what happened in the early years of Hellboy's career when he was a little Hellboy. And Mike Mignola, along with the writers John Arcudi and Joshua Dizard, the artists Paul Azaceta, the brothers Bar and Moon and Max Fiumara, not to forget the usual and very important and as always fantastic coloring of Dave Stewart. They pulled out all the stops, if there ever were some, and knocked it right out of the ballpark. You get Nazi crusaders with lightsaber crosses. Yes, eat this, Star Wars. Nazi crusaders with lightsaber crosses. You got Nazi robot spiders. Yes, I repeat this too. Nazi robot spiders. And as always, crazy monsters and zany stuff, and the best, all this ridiculous over-the-top wackiness never feels like a gimmick. It's always part of the greater pulpy storytelling goodness. The only problem I have with this collection is the time I have to wait for the next of these books. Simply brilliant. If you still don't have enough recommendations for horror comics, you may check out Panellogy number 17, where I dive quite deep into the horror genre, showing off my other Walking Dead omnibi and also cover the series iZombie by Michael Allred, which got the omnibus treatment quite recently. This one would have made it very high in my top 10 for sure, but I didn't feel the necessity to upgrade my old soft covers, so I haven't bought it. just to show you I'm actually able to be reasonable sometimes and spare some money sometimes. Thanks for listening and watching. Goodbye.